Making the world a better place is an intricate puzzle, and piece by piece, the women and men of Rotary have worked hard to fight hunger, promote literacy, and move the world toward peace. But there is still much to be done, still some missing pieces, and one of those missing pieces is you. Learn how you can help Rotary put together a better world.
Hello and welcome to the 2011 Westmont State of the School District Address. It's great to see everybody here today. We've got a very informative program on our schedule. We're going to be covering all the issues and topics that impact our school districts here in the community. My name is Larry Forsberg. I serve as the Executive Director of the Westmont Chamber. And we're always very proud to have two great speakers like Dr. Kevin Carey and Dr. Birding here today. We're going to present the school district address immediately following lunch. Our lunch today is prepared by Absolutely Delicious, and we want to say thank you to them for doing a great job. And we also would like to recognize a few of our guests that we have here today. We'll start out by recognizing our elected officials. We have with us today Senator Kirk Dillard. Where are you? We also have with us Village Clerk Jenny Simsky. Jenny. Village Trustee Bob Scott. President of CUSD 201, Marie Charlton. Marie. We also have with us 201 Board Member Gary Armstrong. 201 Board Member Shannon Hancock. 201 Board Member Jill Price. We also have with us today Westmont Public Library Trustee Elaine Carmichael. And we'd also like to take a moment to recognize our village staff and leaders that guide our community on a daily basis. We'll begin with Village Manager Ron Searle. Fire Chief Frank Trout. Police Chief Tom Mulhern. And also like to take a moment to recognize the leaders of the Westmont Chamber. I'm going to ask all the board members from the Westmont Chamber and past presidents to please be stand and be recognized. These folks invest a substantial amount of time and effort in helping our chamber be very successful. At this time, I'm also going to announce our gold and silver members of the Westmont Chamber. We'll begin with our gold members. Clarendon Hills Bank, Clemens Mailing Service, Expressions Dance Studio, First Midwest Bank, Inland Commercial Property Management, Laborers International Union 288, the Oak Brook Hills Marriott Resort, the Oak Brook Racket and Fitness Club, Cyrus Technologies, and the Village of Westmont. Those are our gold members. And for our silver members, we have Certified Towing, Colwell banker Mike McCurry, Elite Repeat Resale, the Humidor of Westmont, Repco Machine Specialties, and Poplar Community Bank. These businesses go above and beyond in investing dues in our chamber and really go to the extra distance to support our chamber. So please give them a round of applause. So at this time, I'm going to ask everybody to help yourself. We have lunch here at the back of the room, and at the conclusion of lunch, we'll go right into the presentation. Thank you.
Making the world a better place is an intricate puzzle, and piece by piece, the women and men of Rotary have worked hard to fight hunger, promote literacy, and move the world toward peace. But there is still much to be done, still some missing pieces, and one of those missing pieces is you. Learn how you can help Rotary put together a better world.
Good afternoon again, everybody. I hope you enjoyed your lunch today. Absolutely Delicious is absolutely delicious. They did a wonderful job for us today, and we greatly appreciate the hard work. At this point, it's my pleasure to be able to introduce the 25th president of the Great Westmont Chamber of Commerce and Tourism Bureau, and that's Mr. David Labrash. David? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, again, and welcome to the 2011 State of the School District Address. The Chamber is very pleased to have all of you here to participate today, and we'd also like to welcome those who may be watching this at a later time on the internet. Our address today is being presented by Dr. Catherine Burning, Superintendent of Marker School District 60, and Mr. Kevin Carey, Superintendent of Westmont Community Unit School District 201. We'll start the program with Dr. Burning, who received her Bachelor of Science degree in Special Education and Elementary Education from Western Illinois University. And in 1995, she received her doctorate in Education from Roosevelt University. Pardon my voice, please. She began her career as a second-grade teacher at North Berwyn School District, and after 3 years was appointed to the position of Diagnostic Resource Consultant. She became principal of Glen Westlake Middle School in Lombard, District 44, and after 7 years was promoted to Assistant Superintendent for Instruction, and in 2006 was appointed as Superintendent of the Marker School District. Dr. Burning's broad background of special education and curriculum development and renewal prepared her well for her current role in leading the Marker School District. Please recognize Dr. Burning and with a warm Westmont welcome. Thank you.
Again, thank you all so much for demonstrating this interest in the schools that serve the Westmont community. And once again, I'm really delighted to be here to be able to share our successes as well as our challenges in Marker School District 60. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to talk a little bit about just our overall student results and achievement as reported in our most recent 2011 Illinois State District Report Card. And I did share this information with you last year. This is updated information, and we are extremely proud of our students. They have, once again, outperformed the state average of about 82%, and our students met, over 90% of our students met or exceeded our state standards this past school year. And you can see that's kind of been a trend where we've sort of hovered. We hit it 1 year in 2008, that 90% mark, but we kind of just sort of hovered around just under that 90%. And quite frankly, we have, this is the last year that we actually achieved better than we had in all previous years. So we're very, very excited about that. We attribute that once again to the hard work of our teachers, obviously, and the implementation of new curriculum and the technology that we provide our students in the classroom. It's really opened a whole window of opportunity. One of the things that I do want to point out is that these results are actually far more impressive, I think, than you might consider for this area, given the fact that we've had some very significant changes in our demographics. As you can see, according to our 2010 information, our low-income population within the district was at 31%. It is now at approximately 35 to 36% across our schools. And oftentimes we see that with the population of students who come from low-income households, unfortunately they have had several school experiences in their career where they have had many changes. And so we have focused a great deal on how we can acclimate our students to our system and build those skills. Our teachers are working very, very hard on some very unique interventions to provide our students to help them be as successful successful as they can be. And so given that changing population, you can see that why we're very, very proud of the results that we had gotten over this past year with that 90% of students meeting and exceeding standards. Those are our state assessment results. That helps us gauge how well we're doing overall with curriculum and how we're serving our students. But quite frankly, what really drives our work in the district is our strategic plan. And I did share this with you a year ago when we presented the state of District 60. But I want to just bring us back to that because this is our anchor in the district. This is what drives all of our work. It focuses us as a district-wide system. It focuses the work of our individual schools, and it focuses the work in our individual classrooms. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to walk you through what we call our scorecards that will give you a glimpse of how we are measuring our work on our strategic plan, the kind of results that we're getting, and what we're going to do about those results. So our first learning target within our strategic plan is that we have what we call a stretch goal. And generally speaking, those of you who are familiar with the normal curve, remember that? There's about 68% of students that would typically hover around that midpoint, that 50th percentile. Okay. Well, we have a pretty lofty goal in our district, and by 2015, we want to see 80% or more of our students functioning in reading and math at the 50th percentile or better. Okay. And so we measure that on an annual basis using an assessment called the Measures of Academic Progress, or MAP. And we monitor that at each individual grade level because we want to make sure that we're seeing growth over time with our students. So you can see, this is our most recent information in terms of our student performance. You can see that we do have some grade levels who are just about there or have hit that mark. It's much easier to see at the bottom when you look at the charts. The green bar across the top is at that 80% mark. That's what we're shooting for. And so you can see that we have overall have been relatively close, but not right there consistently. And so one of the things that we do is we look at that information and we say, okay, we have a good chunk of our students meeting that, and so we need to determine what we're doing well for those kids, but for the youngsters who are not at that point, we need to know why, and we dig into that, and that's what our schools do. And so what are some of the things that we're doing in the district? We will be establishing what we call an instructional leadership team and also building leadership teams in each of our schools. Those schools will actually dig into this information, and they will be looking at who those youngsters are and what we can do for those youngsters. We are currently providing ongoing professional development in the areas of literacy and math. Those have been our two critical goals for our district. Most important, we are working on the development of math fluency in particular. A lot of people would go back and say, okay, well, those are the math facts, you remember. But what we're talking about here is a clear understanding of mathematical concepts and the application of computation within a problem-solving setting. So all of that is focused within our strategic learning target 1. The next one is that we want to see, and we are built-in grade level centers, and so our primary school is K through second grade, our intermediate school grades 3, 4, and 5, and of course our middle school grades 6 through 8. At the primary school, again, we have a very lofty goal, and that is that we want to see all of our primary students who've been enrolled in our district for at least 2 years read on or above grade level by the time that they leave the second grade. And we know research tells us that if students are not reading on grade level by the conclusion of third grade, they're going to continue to have difficulty in acquiring knowledge and concepts and skills in other areas as they move forward. And so since we're at grade level centers, we've set, again, a lofty goal to say we want to see this happen by the end of second grade. We have only 1 year of data. That building had worked very, very hard to identify what is the best form of assessment to judge our students' progress, and so they are now using Fountas and Pinnell assessment of reading. And last year at the end of the second grade, you can see that 81% of our students were reading on or above grade level at the end of second grade. Now, that's a very nice percentage to have, but we always look at it from the perspective of who are those 19%? Who are those students and what can we do for them? And that's what that particular building is focusing on. So we are continuing to look at what additional professional development is needed in the area of literacy at our primary school. What kind of interventions and support systems can we put in place for those students, and we will continue to monitor their progress as well. Here's our third learning target, and this is, again, a district-wide learning target. Using that MAP assessment that I mentioned earlier, for students that are in the district for a full school year, we take a snapshot of their performance in the fall, and then mid-year, and then in the spring. And when you have those data points from the fall to the spring, you can determine whether or not a student has met or exceeded their individual growth target. And that's really important for us because this really brings it down to the individual level for our students. And we want to assure that every child is meeting or exceeding that individual growth target. So wherever they were at the very beginning of the year, there's a projection of where they should be at the end of the year, and we want to see them at that point or beyond. And that's our goal here. And we want to see, as a district, at least 70% of our students meeting or exceeding their growth target. Of course, we are pushing for all, but MAP, the NWEA that produces the MAP, has indicated that high-performing districts are those districts who see at least 70% of those students meeting their growth target. So that's what we set as our benchmark. And again, we look at that information both in reading and at mathematics, across all of the grade levels. And again, you can see that at some grade levels, we've either come very, very close or have exceeded that. And other grade levels, there is, we're not performing at that level. And so, again, those schools are digging into that and looking at what are the needs of those youngsters. How are we serving those needs? Are we being successful, and what do we need to do differently? And then here is our strategic learning target 4, and it says, and this is really kind of a focus at our middle school, we want all of our District 60 graduates well prepared for the rigor of the high school programs. We have about 80% of our students who move on to the Hinsdale Township High School District, and the remaining 20% move on to Downers Grove High School District 99. And no matter what school that they go to, we want to be sure that our kids are clearly ready to meet the challenge of the high school program. And so we have a number of measures that we've put into place to determine whether or not our students are indeed ready for the challenges of the high school program. How will we know? We want to see at least 35% of our students placed into honors classes at the high school level or above. We also want to see 70% of our students meeting college readiness standards using the Explore assessment. And the Explore assessment is the very first assessment in the ACT track of assessments. And it does give us a good prediction of how well students will perform later on the preliminary ACT and then the ACT test as well. And you can see, again, our students have done relatively well in terms of honors placement at the high school level. This past past year, 31% in English and 34% in math, so very, very close to that target. And then with the Explore assessment, you can see where we're at there in the area of English. We exceeded our benchmark, our measure at 77%. Math, not quite there. And we have made some significant changes to our math curriculum, which is far more rigorous than it had been in previous years, aligning that curriculum with the Common Core standards that has really raised the bar quite high and is introducing students to skills and knowledge that once were saved for the upper levels. That's now being lowered somewhat, and so there is greater challenge with that program. Science, you can see that 31% of students demonstrated college readiness on the Explore assessment. That we're not happy about, of course, but that is also a trend nationwide when you look at those assessment results. For some reason, the science results are far lower than the results in the English and math area. I will tell you that this year we have implemented a new science curriculum, kindergarten through the 8th grade within our district. And starting at the kindergarten level, we now have a hands-on, much more of an exploratory and an inquiry-based science program that will give kids an excellent foundation in the sciences as they move up the system, and that we anticipate will have an impact, a positive impact on these results. And then we also are looking specifically in terms of our math results. You can see what we call our math RIT scores. They actually give us, the MAP assessment actually gives us a measure of readiness for pre-algebra, algebra, and geometry. And our goal here is to see more and more students at the completion of their 8th grade year ready for geometry and beyond. So again, that demonstrates the kind of rigor that we're looking for. The Common Core standards are saying by the end of 8th grade, all students should have completed a course in algebra, okay, and that is our goal. And you can see where our results fall in that regard. And we're actually seeing a positive trend. We're actually seeing the kinds of trend that we should. So those are the 4 academic learning targets that we've established in the district. We also have 3 targets that revolve around the classroom environment that we're beginning to focus on in more depth. And we don't have our data our baseline data in terms of these particular goals at this point. That will be, we will be rolling that out over the next couple of weeks. You can see that those classroom environment or school environment and climate targets revolve around what we call 21st century skills, students able to problem solve effectively, work together effectively, and so forth, as well as providing classroom and school environments that are safe and inclusive and respectful for everyone. We have been working with, over the last year, with Dr. Matt Davidson, who is the executive director of a nonprofit research organization called the Institute for Ethics and Excellence, and it's based in New York. And Dr. Davidson had indeed done some work within DuPage County several years ago where this project began. And we have continued to work with him and his team to actually develop a survey instrument that will give us the baseline data that we need. We need impressions from our students, from all of our faculty and staff, as well as our parents, about our students' skill levels in terms of those 21st century skills, their ability to organize, use time wisely, work together effectively, collaborate, and so forth. In addition to that, that survey will also provide us a glimpse of how our students our staff, and our families feel about the safety and the inclusiveness of our schools. And as I mentioned, they have just completed that custom survey for us, and we just got it this week in terms of a final review before we distribute that. So next year, I should be able to provide you that level of information as well. But we are not standing still and waiting for this information to come back before we do something. One of the things that you may have heard, obviously, is that we've had some challenges in the district with concerns regarding student bullying and intimidation that we are tackling head-on. And we are working with 2 consultants from the Regional Office of Education who are working with us to implement what we're calling a 4-phase plan. The first phase is fact-finding. What does the school climate look like in each of our schools? What kind of communications are going home to our families to address this issue of bullying and intimidation? What does it look like? How do we address it? What are our procedures in the district in terms of how we react or act when we become aware that there is a situation and so forth? What does the training of our staff look like? Do they fully understand what bullying and intimidation type of behavior look like at different age levels? Because it does look a little different at the different age levels. And what can we do about it? And so we are working with this team. We're very excited to have 2 people, Mr. Ed Delaney, who previously worked at the University of Illinois, Chicago, on social emotional learning, as well as Steve Garlington, who's an expert in cultural differences and how we can close the achievement gap, and working with those 2 as a team with our team to address this issue. Now for some financial information. What is the financial health of the district? Well, it's really quite good. Even in these very, very difficult and extreme economic times, we have, as a system, been, I believe, and the board has been, I believe, good stewards of the resources that our community does provide us. And as you can see, the vast majority of our resources come from those local tax revenues, about just under 84%. Because of the wealth, if you will, within and our ability to be provided those local revenues from our tax base, we get very little state aid, as it were. So that's not a great portion of our revenue budget. Although we do depend quite a bit as well on other state and federal funding that comes in the way of grants, or what would they call mandated categorical grants, which from year to year always can be at risk when the state is struggling to meet its bills. So that has been a struggle for us, and that's a significant impact, and those are the resources that we generally receive from the state for special programs like bilingual, second language programs, special education, transportation, those kinds of things. Our 11-12 budget, what does it look like? Several years ago, the community supported what we would call a bricks and mortars referendum that was earmarked primarily for this construction of the Marker School over on 59th and Cass. And we continue to use the funds in that are there for major improvements to our schools. We 2 years ago fixed the entire roof at Westview Hills Middle School. We've had some issues with the Marker building, unfortunately, where there were some major repairs needed as a result of some water issues on the roof of the building, and some of those funds have been provided there, as well as some other types of maintenance and major improvements to our buildings over time. You can see that we do have this year what we would call a deficit budget of just under $500,000 in our education fund. We do have good cash reserves, and that's why those reserves are there, because, as you know, at some point in the future, as our revenues begin to diminish due to the tax cap, unfortunately, the cost of living continues to increase. And so at some point, this is the kind of trend that you will see. On the other hand, as I mentioned before, we have planned for that so that that we can cover these expenses by the kinds of cash balances that we have. Unfortunately, they will only go so far, of course. Okay. One of the things that we have prided ourselves in is that we have been able to maintain our programs in our district. We've added programs in our district. We have now, I mentioned last year that we were just beginning a bilingual Spanish program. We've expanded that to 2 of our buildings in the district. We continue to provide our teachers with the kinds of tools and the technology that they need to really augment a fine program in the classroom, and we have not, at this point, been required to, as such, to increase any fees to our parents. So you can see, this is what that revenue looks like. If you divide it up in a little pie chart, obviously the vast majority of our revenues come from our local taxes, our community, and so you can see where the remaining resources do indeed come from. And as far as expenditures, we're a people business. So, of course, the largest portion of our expenditures are tied directly to the people who are working in our schools and with our students, given salaries and benefits. And you can see where our expenditures are broken down in terms of the other areas. And what are some things we're doing with our buildings? Holmes Elementary School, we have been monitoring the condition of our boilers at Holmes, and they are on target to be replaced within the next year or 2. That is a substantial cost. But we're ready, and we have the reserves to be able to meet that need. We don't want to find out that we have a problem when the temperatures drop below 0, and all of a sudden, just like at home, and all of a sudden, well, good morning, why am I so cold? Need a new heating system. General building updates, miscellaneous kinds of things, and as we do every year, seal coating, painting our driveways, and so forth. And there are some areas that do need some major repair there. One of the other issues that we have at Holmes School is space impact. We have had in the last 2 years a significant increase in the number of kindergarten students that have entered our schools, and that has put a great deal of pressure on the amount of space at the building level in relation to classroom. In addition to that, as I mentioned, with the addition of a bilingual program that needs a classroom space all of its own, as well as an English as a second language program, whereby we have 2 full-time teachers serving in that program, you can see that some of the program needs, as well as the enrollment needs, have really put pressure on the building. And we have been, over the last 2 years, working with our board to study options for relocating the district office. The district office has been housed at Holmes for many, many years, and unless we leave and find another home, and there is no other space, by the way, in the other 2 buildings for us, we will be in a position to have to increase class sizes significantly in that school. So that's a concern. We continue to look at that. We've had several options that were possibilities over the past couple of years. Those things have not materialized, and so we continue to address that. Marker School, I mentioned already some of the issues that we had with the building, with I will call flooding on the third floor. Those are now resolved. That building is relatively new and is in really excellent shape now. And again, the exterior of the building and so forth, the maintenance of our lots and driveways. And then Westview Hills. We are also monitoring the boiler system there at Westview Hills, and that will be another area that we'll need to address within the next couple of years. And I welcome any and all of you to come visit Marker District 60. We'd love to have you in. We'd love to show you some of the things that we're doing within our classrooms and within our schools. You can learn more by visiting our website, but there's nothing like being there and seeing it in action. So I thank you for your time, and please come and visit us.
Thank you, Dr. Burning. I'll wait until you're ready to. All right, the second half of our dynamic duo today is Mr. Kevin Carey, who's the Superintendent of Schools for Community Unit School District 201 in Westmont. He's been in Westmont since 2010. Kevin has been in education for over 24 years. He began his career as a high school science teacher and coach at Bremen District 228. Mr. Carey continued his teaching career in Consolidated High School District 230 at Carl Sandburg High School. He began his administrative career at Sandburg, first as Dean of Students and then Associate Principal. He continued his professional growth as principal of Crete Moni High School prior to serving first as a business manager and then as superintendent for Peatone Community Unit School District 207. Thought I was doing something wrong. The principal was coming to get me. Kevin has a bachelor's degree in physics from Lewis University, a master's in education administration from Governor State University, and a certificate in advanced studies in education administration from Lewis University. Mr. Carey is currently pursuing a doctorate through Illinois State University. Please give a warm Westmont welcome to Kevin Carey.
Thank you to the Chamber for putting this event together and for giving us this opportunity to share some information about School District 201. And I've been flip-flopping on my presentation this year because one of the things that after last year's presentation, after I was done and kind of self-reflecting, the question I had in my mind was, 5 to 10 minutes after that address and sharing some of that information about the district, I wasn't sure what people walked away with or how much they truly remember. And so my goal today is hopefully when you leave today, you'll definitely be thinking about our district, and you'll have, hopefully it'll be a little bit of thought-provoking for you. So this is going to be a little bit different than what possibly we've done in previous years, and we will share a little bit of our student data because we are very proud of the work that we're doing within our district and the quality instruction that we're providing our students. But at the same time, this is a captive audience, and very rarely do I get to talk to a group of business leaders. Typically, you're talking to parent groups and to employees within the district, and so this is the opportunity for us to get our message out to other community members and businesses about where we want our district to go, what we want to be, and ultimately we're going to need your support in order for us to get there because we think it's pretty ambitious. If you take a look first at our school report card data, very quickly summary, Manning and Miller Elementary made adequate yearly progress, and that's determined by student performance on the ISAT, and the state determines what that, or rather it's determined by NCLB what that cut score is. Westmont Junior High and the high school did not make adequate yearly progress, but you'll see in a moment we are doing some good things there, and good things are happening, but unfortunately, because of that legislation, it's not always easy to see that. The class of 2011, our most recent graduating class, we had 94% of our students who indicated that they're going on to college, and that's self-reported. And that's something that we're focusing on, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit later. How are we going to confirm what happens with our students? Because one of the things that we're going to find out is that there's a difference between college eligibility and college readiness. We're confident 94% of our students were college eligible. We know that because they were able to enroll in these different universities. But are they truly college ready? And that's one of the questions that we ask as a district. If you look at Manning, their ISATs in reading and math, as you can see, doing a very nice job with the math at the 94.6% of our students meeting and exceeding, and in reading 87.4% and increasing in those areas. Mill Elementary, again, very proud of the work there that's going on in that building with 91.8% and 81.8%. Westmont Junior High, if you look at our ISAT scores for our building, again, good things are happening there. But based upon the criteria that's established for AYP and how you break out different subgroups like special ed students and students, low-income students and those types of things, you also have to look at those smaller target areas. And so, and we are focused on that because we realize that we need to educate all of our students. But at the same time, if you look at what we're doing on the state assessment, we're doing a nice job. Our high school had the highest ACT scores we've had over the last several years. And again, there's this misnomer, not making adequate yearly progress, and it makes people question the quality of what's happening within our schools. The reality, if you look statewide, though, only 65% of the schools in the state of Illinois did not make AYP this past year. So that means that only 1/3 is making AYP and 2/3 are not. Now, the question we need to ask ourselves, does that mean that only 1/3 of our schools in the state of Illinois are getting the job done? I would argue no, a greater percentage are, but the system is flawed. 80% of school districts did not make AYP. So that means, again, only 20% of over 800 school districts made AYP. Probably most indicative of the system we're working with is out of 656 high schools in the state of Illinois, only 8 made AYP. And again, if you look around the state of Illinois, there's more than 8 quality high schools in our state. And so definitely for us as a district, we're taking a look at this information, we're taking a look at this data, and we're realizing, number one, things need to change. The state of Illinois is applying for a waiver from NCLB. So this whole idea that the only way to measure whether or not you're getting the job done is by this one test that's taken in the spring. They're looking for a waiver from that and looking more at a growth model to see what's happening during the course of a school year with your students, if they're truly learning and growing in their knowledge. But at the same time, we're also self-reflecting in our district and looking at how we're doing things. And we think there's a better way for us to approach the teaching and learning with our students. All of us, we learn that you go to school, you work hard, you go to college, get a degree, and then you get a good job. And what's happening, especially in this economy that's in such turmoil, there's no longer that guarantee that the college degree translates to the good job. And we're finding out that some of our students don't need that college education. They do need to be educated, but not necessarily the college education to be successful. And another quick illustration of how times have changed. If I were to ask in this room how many of us own wristwatches and how many of us are wearing a wristwatch, most of us in this room probably would raise our hand. Now you walk into a high school classroom and you say, how many of you guys have a wristwatch with you? You're going to get very few, but then when you ask them what time it is, they pull out their cell phone. And so times are changing, and right now, and if you ask them, why don't you have a watch, they would say, why do you want something that only does one thing? It gives you the time. Or if you're lucky to have a calendar on there, it gives you the time and date. I'll give you a real quick personal story. I jokingly say that I live in the land of women, because my wife and I, we have 2 daughters, a 20-year-old and a 17-year-old. And and the reason why I say that is because my 20-year-old recently says, I think I'm going to get a watch. Now she's 20 years old. Now she's going to get a watch. And the reason why is because she saw watches at Pandora and she thinks they're really cute. Now, I should have no business knowing what Pandora is, but because you live in the land of women, I know by default that jewelry. And so again, for her, it's an accessory, it's a piece of jewelry. It's not the timepiece that all of us have grown up with. And so times are changing, so education has to change. When we start talking about education reform, that implies that we just need to tweak the system. Well, we have to do more than tweak the system. We need a revolution. And the other thing that we're finding out, and Laura Riley, who's our Teacher Association president, who's here, she can attest to this. Innovation is painful, and we are experiencing pain. It's difficult, it's painful, it's hard work, but it's definitely worth pursuing. A couple other things that if you wanted a reference, and I do recommend, even as business leaders, the Global Achievement Gap is an easy read, and it again addresses, things that we can be doing differently in the educational system. And one of the things, and this gets back to the college eligibility versus college readiness, only 1/3 of high school graduates have the necessary skills for college and work once they leave high school. That's nationwide. And Tony Wagner is with Harvard. It's a study that he conducted, scientific, and the results speak for themselves, and that's based upon what happens to kids after they leave high school. Remember, we're at 94% of our students indicating that they're going on to college. So one of the things we're doing as a district is finding out what happens to those students after they walk out of our doors. And if truly they do follow through on their plan to go to college, are they successful there? Or if they choose not to go to college, are they successful in the world of work? And so again, everything that Tony Wagner is telling us is that we need to change how we approach teaching and learning. Daniel Pink, and this is another, if you want to go to YouTube and you check Daniel Pink, you can find another one of these RS animations, and in probably about 11 minutes, you'll know what the book is saying. But basically, how people are motivated has changed. And give you a quick example. When you first started buying PCs, it came with a software package, and I think it was Encarta. But it was like the software package that had an encyclopedia and different reference materials, and everybody purchased that, and that came with the computer. Now, back 20 years ago, if you were to approach people and say, okay, you can invest in one of these two things. You can invest in the software package that Microsoft is hiring the best minds in software development to work on, putting a lot of money into it, or you can invest in this product that people are just going to work on it on their own. They're not going to get paid. There's no bonuses. They're just going to spend their own time developing. Which one do you want to back? And most of us would back the Microsoft model. Well, today you can't get those software packages with your computer, but Wikipedia is this reference resource, and you can argue the accuracy, but the bottom line is Wikipedia is started with just people investing their own time, their own energy, their own money to make that happen. And so again, how people are motivated is definitely changing. So we as educators, we think the student wants always to get the perfect score and get the A, but that's not always the motivator anymore. The other book that I would throw out to you, and this is a business book, is this concept of small giants. And for us as a district, this is an exciting concept. The book is about small businesses that were very successful, or are very successful, and they made a conscious decision to remain small rather than expand or franchise. They were at that point, things were going really well, very profitable, they're making a lot of money, and they're saying, okay, do we expand? They made the conscious decision not to, and it was because they were concerned that they would lose their ability to be flexible, because the smaller you are, the more flexible. They were able to customize their customer service, instead of having it standardized. And they had relationships were emphasized. Within that organization, regardless of who you were, you could talk to anybody within that organization. You know, you didn't need an appointment necessarily to see somebody or never see someone within the organization. And they had those close ties, connections to the community. Historically, our district, and last year when I arrived in the district, I became aware of this. Consistently, parents approach and they ask, hey, how come we can't be like Downers Grove? Or how come we can't be like Hinsdale? Why can't our students have that experience? Why can't our students take those courses? And, you know, initially the response is always, well, because of our size and the number of students and, you know, the number of teachers you have to hire, it's not cost effective. And we start to go through this process of explaining why, because of our size, it's a detriment and it's a negative, and, you know, we're not going to be able to do those things. Well, now we're changing our thinking. It's not that we can't be those larger systems. We don't want to be those larger systems. You know, we want to be something unique, something special. We want to be the small giant of education. That's what we want to do. And we can do things differently than these larger systems. And so what we want is to create this educational system where instead of our parents coming and saying, hey, we want what they have, parents in other communities are approaching their school district and saying, hey, we want the 201 experience. And so that's what we're striving for and trying to do. You know, we want to be that small giant. We're small, we're flexible. We definitely have, if you look at the quality of our staff, we have a quality staff that can do this. And so we can be that small giant. What that entails, again, that college readiness versus college eligibility. Wagner talks about the 7 survival skills. Now, you as business people in our district, you look at those 7 skills and ask yourself, would you hire somebody that had those 7 skills? And I think we'd be hard-pressed to say no, we wouldn't hire that individual. So our goal as a district is to make sure that when our students cross the stage, their senior year of high school, they're leaving with those 7 critical skills. And if they have those 7 skills, they will be college ready. Not only college eligible, they'll be college ready. If they choose not to go to college, they'll still be very successful because they've mastered those 7 critical skills. And so that's what our focus is as a district. There we go. So what we want to do is we want to take a look at how we do business, and we want to make some changes. If you think about our elementary skills, and if you can imagine that, number one, we have the highest quality teaching and learning taking place. And how do you define that? What does that look like? Well, it's highly collaborative. Teachers are talking to teachers. It's where right now, I guarantee you at the end of the day, our teachers are exhausted because it is hard work teaching young people. It is very hard work, and they're exhausted. We want to, though, create a school where not only the teachers are exhausted at the end of the day, the students are exhausted at the end of the day. Because it's been so engaging, they've been so active during their learning, it's been so student-centered that they're exhausted at the end of the day, as well as our teachers. So that's our goal. We want to create that environment for our schools. We want that rigorous, relevant curriculum that is focusing on those 7 critical skills, developing that exit criteria so that we're measuring. You can't wait until senior year to find out if they're there. We need to find out each way as they move through our system. Think about if we had a dual language experience where when our students leave 5th grade, they're fluent in a language other than English. You know, think about that experience for our students. Project-based, problem-based curriculum, that's what's going to get our students ready for that real-world experience. International baccalaureate curriculum, we want to explore that and research that, because if you're talking about the most rigorous, relevant curriculum, that's where it's at. And then also, you know, maybe we can start, again, developing relationships with universities and creating some lab school experiences within our district that, when successful, we can replicate on a larger scale. At our junior high, again, focusing on that highest of quality teaching and learning, implementing best practices, the exit criteria, the problem-based, project-based learning, and our students are working on an 8th grade project before they transition to the high school. It could be community-related, community service-related. It could be partnering with local businesses and entities to develop those projects. and it prepares them for their high school experience. At the high school, utilizing and this is in addition to the math and the reading and the science, but using that freshman, sophomore year for exploration about college and career. Bringing in people to talk to our students, doing a lunch lecture model where business people are coming in, career people are coming in and talking to our students about what it takes to get to that point in their career and what they need to do in school to get themselves ready. The junior year, an internship. And again, this is going to rely on us developing partnerships so that our students can have that ability to explore career opportunities, develop an internship. Senior year project, where our students are, again, partnering up with businesses and local entities to develop a project. And imagine for a second, if you have two students who, video games are very big, and what if they decide that developing a video game is going to be their senior project, and not only do they do it, but it's marketed, and they came from our school system. Imagine students, apps on the smartphones. We have students who develop apps, that are utilized on smartphones. You develop a partnership with Brookfield Zoo, which is close to us, and our students who are interested in zoology or veterinary medicine, they're involved in projects, and all of a sudden there's publications coming out with our students' name on those publications. So there's a lot of exciting opportunities as we go down this road. And then we take a look at the school day. If you want students involved in senior projects and different things, maybe they go to school 4 days a week, and on the 5th day, they're working on their senior project. And then our teachers as well, maybe they're teaching 4 days a week, and then they're able to supervise the projects on that 5th day. Or what if there's one of our teachers who's traveling during the summer and creates a virtual classroom, an online opportunity. And so part of their teaching load is that summer class. And our students are able to travel with that teacher virtually and also receive credit for that opportunity. And then the bottom line is it's all got to be data-driven and collecting that data on the post-secondary success. And again, and we've already started this process, interviewing students who have graduated from our school. And initially, we're just asking 3 basic questions. What did you like about your experience? What did you not like about your experience? And what can we do better to prepare you for your transition? All of our district planning is aligned with this idea that we want to become this small giant. We've created a district leadership team, and that's a group of administrators and teachers who spent some quality time this summer developing our ideas and thoughts about high-quality teaching and what that high-quality classroom looks like. And now throughout the year, we're meeting periodically. And again, it's hard work. And if you ask any of the teachers who are involved in it, they will tell you that this is hard work. Our strategic planning, our charting the course for the future. We're right now in the planning process. We've kind of wrapped up the large group. We're getting a small group together to kind of refine the goals and the action plan, but they're going to dovetail with where we want to go as a district. Facility planning, some of the things, we've had a facility committee meeting. We've got a short range, long range, medium range plan. What we're looking to do in the near future is relocate our district offices to South Elementary. That frees up some space in Manning and allows us to create better learning environments for our students at Manning. We're going to improve learning spaces at Miller. The high school, those of you who have been into our high school, was built in the mid-'70s when this concept of an open classroom was very popular, not very practical. And so now we have these open spaces that make it very difficult for teaching and learning to take place. And so we're starting the first step of that transition to try to restructure those internal spaces. And so we're adding windows to classrooms, which that may be shocking to you, but back in the 70s, natural light was not something that was necessarily part of that construction model. And then the other thing that we want to do to start us along this continuum of providing different experiences than maybe possibly other school districts is developing an early childhood center that would be housed at South. And the thinking there is right now we educate some of our students pre-K through 12. All of our students K through 12. We want that opportunity to work with more of them at that pre-K level. And that will pay off dividends for us as they move through our system. Financial planning, our current budget, we're looking at about a $400,000 deficit, and that is much better than the $1 million deficit we were anticipating. And so we're very happy with that, although we know there's work to be done. And Kim Anderson, our business manager, is going to be implementing a program where we look at all of our different programs, our investment in those, and are we getting the it's the cost benefit there, so that we know where can we reinvest some dollars and possibly do a better job. And then we have our climate committee, which is working on creating a positive environment. And right now, they're working on strategies or materials that can be utilized by teachers that are aligned with there's learning standards, there's also some social emotional learning standards that get to the whole school climate piece. And we're working on developing materials that can be utilized in the classroom. And again, K through 12, we're focusing on the social emotional needs of our students. And that committee is working on those materials, and very shortly we'll have a set of materials for our teachers to work with. So that kind of in a nutshell is what we're trying to do and what we're hoping to do. And again, our goal is we want other people to be talking about our district and asking why they can't have that experience that 201 has. And we want to be that small giant. That's our goal. Thank you.
We want to say thank you to Dr. Burning and Mr. Carey for very insightful, informative presentations. We greatly appreciate it. The business community loves being informed on what's going on in our schools. Our future employees are developed today in the school systems, and it's a very important job. At this point, we'll close our program today, and I want to say thank you to also Glenn Wilgenberg for recording the program so we can play this online. And thank you for all of you for being here today and being engaged members in our community. Thank you.
Making the world a better place is an intricate puzzle. And piece by piece, the women and men of Rotary have worked hard to fight hunger, promote literacy, and move the world toward peace. But there is still much to be done, still some missing pieces. And one of those missing pieces is you. Learn how you can help Rotary put together a better world